Well, it looks like the guitar a lot of us have been asking for quite a while now is that much closer to becoming reality. Yes, the Chris Buck signature Yamaha Revstar appears to be a lot closer to getting into a lot of our hands than we maybe first anticipated. Chris posted this video to his Instagram story over this past weekend from the Royal Festive Hall, and as you guys can see here, he shows the set list with Cardinal Black, the guitars in the rack, moves on to his pedal board, and some behind the scenes footage that you just tend to expect that Chris would post. However, if you take a look at the guitar rack, and Chris clearly knew what he was doing here and teasing us all, the Revstar that sits in behind his custom shop one is essentially a duplicate of his custom shop Revstar, and that can only mean one thing, because Yamaha does not currently make a Revstar that you can spec even remotely identical to Chris's. Really, you can't get the same kind of bridge piece, you can't get the inlays in the actual fretboard, you can't get it that close. So this must be essentially a pre-production prototype version of his signature Revstar. You take a look at it here, some of the stills I've grabbed from the story, the color scheme, everything appears to be virtually identical, and that's very, very exciting because Chris has been asked about a potential signature Revstar from what I remember in some of the different interviews he did surrounding the Thorpe FX Electric Lightning, and instead of saying no, oh no, we're not really talking about doing that, which is what you would expect someone to say if there wasn't actually happening, all from what I remember, recall him saying was he just kind of said no comment, or kind of smirked and was like, oh, not really going to say much about that, which means, of course, something's happening. If you're saying no comment, something's happening. You just can't speak to it at this time. But Chris clearly knew what he was doing in the video, because I had a lot of DMs on Instagram from you guys being like, hey, did you see what Chris has posted? Look at the signature Revstar that we're getting a look at now. So Chris is clearly, wanting to build a little bit of hype and give us a teaser and see who actually picks out that he's what appears to be road testing a prototype, I assume a pre-production version. Now, as I already mentioned, this prototype, and that's just what I'm going to call it from here on out, and disclaimer, we don't have any 100% dead-on confirmation that this is what it is, but I mean, come on. I think it's pretty clear what we are looking at here, especially with some of the other details I'm going to point out. But this guitar essentially appears to be identical. Some of the stills you can look around has the exact same kind of tailpiece, pickup configuration, the knob layout, everything pickguard. You turn the guitar around into the back look we get of it. The one thing that kind of appears to be different is the tuners. The tuners are actually not the same that Chris has on his custom shop version, so maybe they just went with something that's a little bit easier for a production model. Who knows, but the tuners are not identical. But the one thing that's really cool here is that based on the shot of the back of the neck, it appears to be satin finished, which is going to be amazing. The satin finish is going to be just so nice. So that's a really great option. It looks like, at least to me, that that's what they've gone with, which will play absolutely beautifully. The back of the neck looks a little bit darker too than Chris's. But the one other thing I wanted to point out here is if you look at the back of the headstock, and I'll try and zoom in on this image for you guys, I'm not sure if the words on the top say Chris Buck on it, but then it appears to be a C kind of B signature in between the top two tuners there. So I don't know. To me, that kind of looks like a kind of a clear indication that that is a signature and getting that much closer to a production version of Chris's signature Revstar. And I mean, come on. Everyone's been asking for this guitar forever. If Yamaha just didn't like money, then I guess, yeah, don't make a Chris Buck signature Revstar. But he really has been the one who has made the Revstar, at least in my opinion, very relevant, and the reason why so many people now you see playing Revstars, because they are great guitars, especially for the money, but it's because Chris has inspired so many people through Friday Fretworks, especially with Cardinal Black too. The band's just phenomenal, and his playing is so melodic and so inspiring. This is a guitar a lot of people have been asking for. So if Yamaha wanted to go down the route of Ibanez and not reissue the TS10 and just say, no, we don't like money, which is basically what Ibanez is doing by not doing that, then you'd be like, okay, whatever. But in my mind, there was no way that this guitar wasn't going to be made at some point. I just didn't expect it to essentially be this much closer, because if he's road testing a prototype, this is kind of like him getting the true feel of the guitar, and that's really how he's going to be able to best put that guitar through its paces and really get a feel for how the guitar is before let's assume, giving a final approval on what's going to be the true production version. One other detail with this prototype Revstar that I'm not sure about, and I'm not sure exactly which way Yamaha and Chris would have gone with it, is that clearly the finish on this prototype is pristine. There's no relicking, there's no aging that's been done here, because I believe if they were going to do a kind of nitro relic finish for Chris's signature Revstar, they'd probably relic down by the volume knob where it's got a ton of wear, as you can see here on his custom shop version. There'd be a lot of checking on it as well, kind of like Chris had gotten with the guitar when it first came out of the factory. It had some checking. It's aged a ton since then, but it wasn't new. It definitely had a bit of an age, kind of broken in aesthetic to the guitar's finish. So this one here appears like they might not be doing that. So who knows if they're not going to do nitro on the finish or not. I mean, I think nitro would be absolutely phenomenal, and I think a lot of us would probably pay a premium for a nitro finish, or at least I personally would. If they were doing a nitro finish guitar, I'd happily pay that premium over doing like a poly finish, for example, instead. But either way, I think the guitar is going to be incredible. It's going to sell exceptionally well. It's going to be a huge, huge success. And I'm very, very excited to get my hands on one and try it out because, yeah, I've always wanted to try a guitar like this, and I don't really own anything with P90s, and ever since hearing Cardinal Black and kind of diving a bit more into Chris's playing and style and everything, it's made me really want to try out guitar with P90s, and I don't own one yet, so you never know. This might be one that gets added to my collection at some point here, depending on whether or not we see the guitar get released this year or next year perhaps even, but we're that much closer with, seeing what we can only assume is a pre-production kind of prototype of his signature Revstar. So you guys, I know, just touching on a bit of a different kind of artist who inspires me from the usual John Mayer, John Frusciante kind of content. I know a lot of you guys are fans of Chris's as well, but really, how can you not? And it's just exciting to see all the success Chris is having with Cardinal Black, with the Thorpe Effects Electric Lightning, and now, again, what we can only assume, I'm trying to, not say confirmed or 100% certainty in the video, from what we only can assume will be his signature Revstar. I know Chris saw one video that I did on his Warm Love solo tone, which is still, to this day, one of my favorite solos, I think, ever. So Chris, if you watch this video as well, cheers, man. Wishing you all the best, and, congrats on all the success, because, you've been killing it, and it's all super, super deserved. And yeah, we're all just excited and building up some of the hype, and that's what I'm trying to do here, build up some of the hype for this model that's coming out. And if you guys haven't checked out Cardinal Black yet, go give their first album a listen. It's absolutely incredible. They are doing their second album tour as well, so go check that out. I'll have their website linked down below and their album all linked down in the description down below as well. And go check out the Thorpe Effects Electric Lightning. I own one. Stupidly good pedal. It's got an actual tube inside of it, which I love, like the Zen Drive 2, one of my favorite overdrives of all time. When a pedal has a tube in it, it sounds so brilliant. So go check out all of that stuff. It'll be linked in the comments or in the description down below. Until next time, you guys, thanks so much for watching. Take care, and we'll see you on the next one.